I am New York.
Я сам Нью-Йорк.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
Welcome to DiverseCITY, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Abram. This month we're coming to you from Union Square. Our special episode is going to focus on New York City's parks. Those over 1,700 open spaces, large and small, are becoming a critical part of the conversation about how the city can better mitigate the consequences of global warming. Also, post the COVID-19 pandemic, many experts say that green spaces have become essential to promoting mental health. It's in light of this increased attention that we decided to take a closer look at the city's aging park system. On this episode, the rise of the conservancy, why are more private organizations governing public spaces, and the concerns that arise. Fighting for the 1%, the effort to get more financing for city parks, and why less affluent communities are more affected by the shortfall. And Art in the Park, showcasing local artists in open spaces. Those stories and more coming up on DiverseCITY. Managing 20,000 acres of parkland is no easy task. That's where a number of private and public groups have come in to assist the Parks Department. But as Craig Thompson found out, what started out as local park goers doing a good deed has ballooned into a debate that's left some wondering if parks are still public property.
Steve Cohen has been a fan of city parks for as long as he can remember.
I've been using parks from when my family moved to Brooklyn when I was 2 years old.
Now he lives on the Upper West Side and uses either Morningside or Riverside Park.
70% of the people who live in New York City live in apartment buildings. And so that means that the parks are their backyard. It's the one place where people go to of every economic background and demographic background. What I like to say about it, there's no rope lines in the park.
Cohen is a professor in the practice of public affairs at Columbia University's School of International and Public Affairs. He's been a proponent of parks as a recreational space and as part of the city's environmental sustainability infrastructure for many years. He's witnessed the growth of conservancies and other private groups who are playing an increasing role in managing the city's massive park system. He notes that Central Park's Great Lawn was a dust bowl in the 1970s.
One of the projects was to replant the Great Lawn. They've spent enormous amounts of time and money reclaiming Central Park and making it the great park it was before and it is today.
That sort of management was, and continues to be, a Herculean task. That's led parks in New York City to be managed by a cross-section of labor forces that includes the Parks Department employees, volunteers, members of Friends of groups, and conservancies. All parks have department employees, but few have conservancies. These conservancies are hybrid private-public entities that raise money, mostly, from the community surrounding the park.
Conservancies and alliances and friends of groups that we have in New York City are incredibly important for maintaining the well-being of our parks, the health of our parks, but they're not a solution necessarily everywhere.
Eli Dvorkin is editorial and policy director at the nonpartisan think tank Center for an Urban Future. His focus is on the maintenance challenges of New York City parks.
To be able to expand the benefits of what those kinds of organizations bring to their parks to parks in lower income communities, under-resourced parks, that really requires a sustained investment in the Parks Department to be able to hire the kind of full-time staff needed to bring that level of care and maintenance to every park in New York City.
His point about funding rings loudly when you consider the fact that the Central Park Conservancy started with a $2 million endowment in 1982, which has now grown to about $500 million as of 2022. It now has a $74 million annual budget. That's compared to Jackson Square Park, a smaller space further down 6th Avenue. That park's nonprofit group formed in 2008. It's called the Jackson Square Alliance. They got $42,000 in donations in 2020.
It's so challenging to keep pace with the needs of 20,000 acres of parkland, another 10,000 acres of natural areas, and it's just beyond the capacity of the department to be able to give that kind of hands-on maintenance and care to every single square foot of parkland in the system. So when neighbors, community-based organizations, and other groups step up to kind of do that, to play that role, it's incredibly beneficial given the limited resources of the Parks Department. We're dealing with a system, there are fewer full-time parks workers than there were, 30, 40 years ago. That manifests in very specific areas, whether that's skilled maintenance workers like masons or electricians or plumbers or gardeners, where we actually know that in New York City, one gardener has about 130, 140 acres to take care of.
Although Steve Cohen understands the city's struggle to keep pace and the reason conservancies have become necessary, he says there's a problem with all this private money.
The problem with private funding of public parks is, does the public lose control of those parks? Now, the good news about the Central Park Conservancy is they have a contract with the Parks Department. They don't get to do anything that the city government doesn't allow them to do. You don't want these parks to become rich people's playgrounds, and that has not happened because the city government has made sure of that.
Eli Dvorkin thinks that volunteers and so-called friends of groups can also help in smaller and less wealthy communities. It's estimated there are upwards of 70 Friends of Parks groups in all 5 boroughs.
There's also a need to be able to figure out, well, how can we more intentionally support parks in lower income communities that don't have those kinds of public-private partnerships in place, and where there may not be enough resources there in the community to be able to sustain that on an ongoing basis.
For DiverseCITY, I'm Craig Thompson.
The nonprofit advocacy organization, New Yorkers for Parks, has been spearheading an effort to increase New York City's Parks Department budget to 1% of the city's overall budget. The organization claims that New York is lagging behind its peers, such as Minneapolis, Chicago, and Los Angeles, as regards to their per capita allotments for the parks. I found out more about what meeting this 1% would do for the city.
During the rain or sunshine, parks are often a refuge for many city residents. But advocates like Daniel Abram say they're woefully underfunded, something that goes back to the 1970s when the city was doing some financial belt-tightening.
So right now, the executive budget is looking at about $610 million for the Parks Department. What we're asking for is about a $300 million bump, which would get the Parks Department to about $1 billion, 1% of the city's $100 billion budget.
$1 billion sounds like a lot, but Abram compares that to change found in the city's proverbial couch. Abram is the project manager for research and policy at New Yorkers for Parks. The research and advocacy organization focuses on parks equity. That entails, in part, pushing for the building of more parks and also getting more funding for the department.
The Parks Department, they're responsible to take care of these spaces, and they're currently allocated at 0.6%. But 1% would allow every park to be treated at the level of a Prospect Park, of a Central Park, and these parks are our New York City's kind of crown jewels.
In order for that to happen, Abrams says the parks need more boots on the ground, like gardeners and maintenance workers. But
we've asked for about 1,000 junior level, entry level positions, and we've been committed for 100 from the executive budgets.
Right now, the department uses a mobile crew model.
They have folks who go from park to park in a crew, but what you miss out on there is someone being in the park on a regular basis.
Abrams says getting to 1% will help create full-time positions that offer more job security. Statistics show that of the more than 8,700 people the department employed in 2021 to 2022, more than half of them were seasonal or temporary.
Parks Department workers are not entirely sure whether or not they're going to get a pink slip or if they're going to be able to stay. And so that's where baselining new positions and funding new positions, increasing those on an annual level, will increase the amount of workers who actually stay in their position because they feel secure.
All this advocacy is part of a targeted campaign to raise more awareness about the issues that the parks are facing. Another big one is that of deferred maintenance.
Deferred maintenance in 2022 was $590 million. Deferred maintenance is essentially just maintenance that needs to be done that has not happened. It's been deferred or put off and ends up being a cost that goes on to the next year's maintenance budget, but might end up becoming a new capital project just as well.
So basically, the budget that the Parks Department just got is the budget that it needs to fix all the stuff that's already wrong.
Right, and that doesn't even cover all of the things that are wrong.
Abram says that New Yorkers for Parks has created a petition to amplify their appeals to the mayor. That's already gotten some city council support.
We need to have 1% at the minimum because every other major city across the nation has more percentage of their budget allocated towards parks, and for New York City it's huge, so we need to advocate for that.
So we got 41 of 51 council members supporting us right now, and we also have about 8,500 signatures right now. We're moving towards 10,000 as we're starting to mobilize some of our partner organizations and some of these other communities that are not aware that this is an issue for their own community, or not aware why their parks are not maintained at the same level.
Just a postscript to that story, we did reach out to the mayor's office on several occasions to get a comment for this segment. However, as of the recording of this episode, we have yet to get a response to our questions. The conversation about access to open and green spaces goes beyond just the parks. A Department of Transportation initiative called Open Streets really took hold during the pandemic. The practice of closing off large swaths of city blocks to vehicular traffic and essentially turning them into pedestrian plazas has lowered pedestrian accidents, bolstered local businesses, and provided a refuge for residents. The most successful of these initiatives is located in Jackson Heights, Queens. It's been going year-round since it started 3 years ago, while other open streets offer more summer fare. We learn how this Queens project is taking the initiative to new heights, despite some growing pains.
Whether it's enjoying the cool during the holiday season or cooling off in the summer, 34th Avenue Open Street has become a big part of some Jackson Heights residents' lives. The Department of Transportation touts the project as one of its biggest success stories. Ironic, because this open street was partially born out of the city's failure to provide residents with enough park space.
This is one of the places here, for example, in Jackson Heights, with the least amount of park space. During the pandemic, for example, it was single file. And many days still in this neighborhood, on garbage day, the sidewalk becomes single file. So you can't walk with anybody else. You can't walk with your children. It's hard to walk with a stroller, a wheelchair. So we were really dying for open space. So we were one of the recipients of at least trying this open street experiment.
Jim Burke co-founded the 34th Ave Open Street Coalition. The organization is really a group of resident volunteers who manage the 25-block-long stretch and plan year-round events. These include Zumba classes, arts and crafts events, and even legal services that many community members wouldn't have had otherwise. But not everyone is happy with open streets. Some area residents formed the 34 OS Resistors United. They staged protests in the past as a means of airing complaints about the open streets impeding parking. Also, 12 plaintiffs from around the city filed a federal lawsuit against the DOT in late April of 2023. The suit claims, in part, that the open street program bars disabled people's access to a public street, thus violating their federal rights under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Despite that pushback, Mayor Eric Adams recently recommitted to the Open Streets Initiative. He boasted that as of this summer, the program was expanding to the Bronx and Brooklyn.
We did not go to the small dead-end block and say, well, let's open it and be just symbolic. We went to Eastern Parkway. We went to the grandest concourse in the Bronx, the Grand Concourse. We are going after the large places where people are able to walk and to really congregate together.
Even with that support and success, there's still room for improvement, so says Leslie Davol, the co-founder of Street Lab. The nonprofit often partners with 34th Ave Open Street to organize some events.
The first year of the pandemic, it was sort of a, let's do it really quickly, let's close some streets, right? And there wasn't necessarily a lot of time to figure it out and figure out what the best streets would be. Now we're in a period of a maturing program, right, that needs to figure it out. And so I think a lot of streets that had nothing going on didn't work. The groups just, they didn't have support, closed down. So some streets that existed closed and are no longer open streets. But there are some, like 34th Avenue and hopefully more, and that's what we're trying to work on too, is to help groups to try open streets and try to build that momentum.
That momentum has already taken the form of a DOT proposal to turn the 1.3-mile 34th Avenue open street into a park that will be tentatively called Paseo Park. Though Burke is excited, he told us in a subsequent interview off camera, quote, "We don't want Gramercy Park in Manhattan. We want Corona Park in Queens." Reporting for DiverseCITY, I'm Dwayne Ferguson.
Now we'll go on a visual journey that takes us over the crossroads of artistic expression and the great outdoors. Linda Samidian has that story.
Amid the hustle and bustle of New York City's skyscrapers and street traffic is a visionary initiative that brings artwork to the heart of the city's green spaces.
We program temporary public art projects in parks citywide, so all 5 boroughs. Large parks like Van Cortlandt Park and Prospect Park, smaller pocket parks, non-traditional park spaces like Park Avenue and the Broadway malls. If you're in a park and you see art, it's likely part of our program.
Elizabeth Masella is the Senior Public Art Coordinator for the New York City Art in the Parks program run by the New York City Parks Department.
We average around 70 to 80 temporary public art exhibitions every year. And the exhibitions take a number of forms: multi-artwork exhibitions, large sculpture, smaller community-based projects, murals. It's a really wide variety.
The program was created with the intent of using public space as an outdoor museum so that art would be a part of our daily experience. And since its inception in 1967, more than 2,000 works have been displayed across New York City.
One of the projects that I think a lot of people get really excited about is Photoville. It's grown to a citywide exhibition in all 5 boroughs that exhibits the work of photojournalists on park fences throughout the city. One of our most popular projects has been a sculpture by an artist named Sherwin Banfield that's a tribute to Christopher Biggie Wallace. A lot of people know him as Notorious B.I.G.
While most of the art is outside, there is a display inside the Arsenal in Central Park where I spoke with Elizabeth.
So this exhibition here is called Heart of the City, and it features a series of photographs by an artist named Kevin Cooliow. He's been photographing NYC basketball, pickup basketball in particular, for the last couple decades. There are certain things that we look for when we're reviewing proposals. Is the artwork going to impact regular park usage? Will it work well within the park settings? Will it complement what we already have going on in the parks?
One crowd-pleasing project that is making a big impact is titled Sankofa, found in Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem.
Sankofa is an Akan African folklore idea that is symbolized by the Sankofa bird. Its feet are pointed forward and its head is looking back. And the idea is sort of loosely translated as we move into the future, we have to look to the past to have the wisdom of the ancestors.
Jerome Hafer designed the installation. He is a public artist, architect, and assistant professor at City College.
Tell me about the plans.
So yes, one of the main elements that you can see around the piece is to incorporate live plants. And part of that idea not only came with the fact that we're in a park and this idea of stewardship, but the sort of steward organization is Harlem Grown, which is a local organization that uses vegetables and the growing of plants as a kind of educational tool.
So why is this installation in Marcus Garvey Park?
So this park is a black landscape, as I describe it. And the significance of this park to, in particular, black history, but also African, Afro-Caribbean, Latinx communities who use this park, you can see reflected in the artwork. You have depictions of Marcus Garvey, the Jamaican flag, and references to Frederick Douglass, and different histories that are really critical to understanding the significance of this park to the different communities that have really made this park a very significant Harlem landmark.
The art surrounds you from any direction, from any of these tables, and the beauty of the park is enhanced by these beautiful pictures. This space, it has cotton sheets, but they block the sun. So you've got this breeze that constantly encircles you.
This is an exercise in making something together with the community and then giving it over for the community to take care of it.
For Diverse City, I'm Linda Samidian.
That's our special look at New York City's park system. Join us next time when we'll continue our walk through the parks. Till then, thanks for joining us as we explore our diverse city.